Hello students and welcome back to the UV visible spectroscopy. Today we shall be discussing about the UV visible spectrum and the various factors that affect the lambda max, that is the maximum absorption wavelength in a UV visible spectrum. Okay, before proceeding further, let's have a quick view of what actually was the basic principle of UV visible spectroscopy that we have studied so far. So the basic principle of UV visible spectroscopy, if you remember, is the electronic transition that occurs after the absorbance of UV visible radiation. Okay, so when an electron sitting in its ground state energy level absorbs the radiation with a particular amount of energy, and the energy is sufficient enough to make that electron jump from the ground state level to the higher energy level or the excited energy level state, then the process is called as electronic transition. So there are various types of electronic transition that an electron can undergo after the absorption of UV visible uh, radiation. So the first or one of the transitions is the sigma sigma star transition. Sigma sigma star transition. So the sigma sigma star transition actually occurs, or it is found in those compounds wherein the sigma bond is present, or let's say the single carbon carbon bond is present. And we all know that a sigma bond is a very strong bond. So basically, since the sigma bond is a very strong bond, that means it requires a large amount of energy. So the sigma sigma star transition actually is a high energy transition. And if it is a high energy transition, then what will be the wavelength? We know that by the Planck's equation, E is equal to hc by lambda. So that means energy is inversely proportional to the wavelength, right? So the higher the energy required for sigma sigma star transition, that means it will be occurring at a lower wavelength value or a shorter wavelength value. Okay, and sigma sigma star transition, it is usually found in alkanes. The next type of electronic transition that occurs in the UV visible spectroscopy, that is on the absorption of the UV visible radiation, is the N sigma star transition. The possibility of N sigma star transition to exist is based on the presence of the N electrons, that is the non-bonded electrons. And what are these non-bonded electrons? These actually are the lone pair of electrons that are present on any atom. And we all know that oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur and halogens actually consist of a lone pair of electrons in any of the molecule or compound. Okay, so the transition of these non-bonded electrons that occurs, or the transition of these lone pair of electrons that can occur in a molecule, is one of them is N sigma star transition. That is the transition of the N electrons or the non-bonded electrons or the lone pair of electrons to the sigma star energy level, which is the anti-bonding energy level. Remember, these sigma, N and pi energy orbitals that are mentioned over here on the left hand side of the arrow are the bonded molecular orbitals we had discussed in our last slides. And these sigma star, pi star orbitals, we know that anti-bonding orbitals are represented with a star with them. Okay, so the second type of transition over here is the N sigma star transition, and it is because of the presence of the lone pair of electrons on the heteroatom over here. Heteroatom, I am referring to the oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur and halogens over here. Okay, so the heteroatoms consist of lone pair of electrons over here, and because of that, just because they are highly electronegative in nature, specifically oxygen and nitrogen and halogens, of course, the priority based one. Okay, just because they are highly electronegative in nature, so they are capable of forming the hydrogen bond. Okay, so such type of association can occur due to the presence of non-bonding electrons present on the heteroatom. So the transition over here that has taken place is N sigma star transition, that is the movement of the non-bonded electrons from its ground state energy level to the excited state energy level, that is a sigma star. Okay, the next type of transition is the pi star transition. It's one of the most common type of transition that is observed in the UV visible spectroscopy. And as the name represents pi star transition, that means the transition of the electrons in the pi orbital takes place, and the electrons in the pi orbital absorb energy from the UV visible radiation subjected over the molecule, okay, and they move on to the anti-bonding molecular orbital or the excited energy level of the pi star. Okay, so such type of transitions are present or can be found in the molecules that contain double bond or the triple bond as well. Okay, the dienes, the unsaturated hydrocarbons, they can undergo pi star transition. Okay, so they require a very small amount of energy, and so the transition occurs at a longer wavelength, because obviously energy is inversely proportional to the wavelength, okay, of the radiation. The last of all is the n pi star transition, wherein again the n electron is playing its role, that is the non-bonded electron or the lone pair of electron. Okay, so the n electron or the non-bonded electron jumps out of its energy level and can move to the pi star energy level. Now this type of transition requires the least amount of energy. Okay, so we can say that if it requires a least amount of energy, so definitely it will be occurring at the highest value of the wavelength. Yes, but a question arises, when n pi star requires the least amount of energy, then it should be the most probable type of transition that can occur in a molecule, right? Okay, now let's see if it actually happens. Okay, another point for this type of transition is that it is observed as a low intensity curve or a peak in the UV visible spectrum. Okay, we'll discuss it in further details. Okay, to summarize, we can say that the transition of an electron actually occurs on the absorption of the UV visible radiation from its highly occupied molecular orbital or HOMO to the lowest unoccupied molecular orbital or the LUMO. That means the electron, the outermost electron, can undergo transition. Why? Because they are residing in the highly occupied molecular orbital. Okay, so the inner electrons or the inner shell electrons rather, they do not undergo transition. Okay, fine. So the highest occupied molecular orbital in that sense, okay, transition occurs from this orbital to the lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. That means the nearest higher energy orbital, which is not occupied by any of the electrons. So we refer to it as LUMO, lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. That is the antibonding molecular orbital over here. Okay. The another summarized point is that actually when the electron has excited from its ground state level to the higher energy level, then that excitation state is of a very small fraction of time. It can last for, let's say, 1 to 10 nanoseconds only. Okay, now why does that happen? Why this type of excitation is a very short period excitation? Why? Because we all know that higher the energy, lower the stability. So the higher energy state of the electron, which it has jumped to now, is actually energetically unstable. Okay, so that is why it lasts in that energy orbital only for a very small fraction of time of nanoseconds only. Okay, now the electron sitting in the higher energy level will try to come back to its ground state level after that fraction of time. And when it comes from the higher energy level to the lower energy level, definitely that extra amount of energy which it has acquired while sitting to the higher energy level, that extra amount of energy is actually corresponding to the difference between the two energy levels. Okay, so when it comes back from the higher to the lower energy level, that extra energy is lost in the form of heat or a light radiation. Okay, and that extra energy is lost through the process that is called as relaxation process. Okay, and also the absorbance of the sample means how much intensity of light is absorbed by my sample. It depends upon the concentration of the sample that we can recall from the Beer-Lambert law, if you remember. Just a moment. Yes, so absorbance was equal to epsilon, that is the absorption coefficient, times concentration times the path length. Okay, so more is the concentration of the solution, the more will be the absorbance. And if I increase the conditions applied, the path length is kept as constant. But if I keep concentration as constant, the path length increase will lead to an increase in absorbance also. and definitely absorbance will depend on the molar absorption coefficient as well, that is the epsilon. And this molar absorption coefficient, actually it is the inherent property of the molecule, means it depends upon the characteristic features of the substance that I need to study. Okay, and nothing else. Fine. Now let us try we know that the basic concept or the basic principle rather behind the UV visible spectroscopy is the electronic transition, and the different transitions that it can, any of the electron can undergo, that also we are aware of now. Okay, now let us try to understand the UV visible spectrum. Okay, and here we have taken the example of acetone, which is actually a carbonyl compound. Okay, now the UV visible spectrum, as if we try to recall it, it is actually this simple graph that represents the intensity of the light absorbed or emitted, okay, with respect to the wavelength. So this is the spectrum of UV visible spectroscopy, which it looks like. Absorbance is there on the y-axis and wavelength is there on the x-axis. Okay. Now we can see from here that the UV visible spectrum of acetone consists of two bands. Fine. This is band number 1 and this is band number 2. Okay. So the UV visible spectrum of acetone. Let's try to have a look at the structure of acetone first. Now the structure of acetone shows the presence of CO double bond. Okay, the presence of CO double bond, that is the carbonyl group, is present over in the acetone molecule. Okay, so when we say carbonyl group is present, what do we mean by that? Means one of the bond over here, we know that it is a sigma bond, and what is the other type of bond? It is a pi bond. Yes, so definitely if there are pi, if there is the existence of pi bond in the molecule, so there will be one of the transitions which will be belonging to the category of pi electrons. That means one of the transitions should be in this molecule as pi star transition. Okay, so now we know that acetone will consist of a UV visible spectrum wherein one of the bands will be due to the pi star transition. Okay, let's try to fetch out if there is any other transition band. My oxygen contains lone pair of electrons, we all know. Fine. So the lone pair of electrons are what? They are the N non-bonded electrons. So that means the spectrum can also contain a transition due to the presence of non-bonded electrons. And what it will be like? It will be N pi star transition. Okay. And yes, of course, they can be sigma star transition also, because sigma bond is also present over there. But usually the energy required is too high and the wavelength is too low, which is not represented here in this UV visible spectrum, because the spectrum does not go beyond below 100 nanometers over here. Okay, and if you remember, the sigma star transition requires a very large amount of energy, and that corresponds to the very low wavelength value. Okay, so as far as this spectrum, this graph is concerned for the UV visible as the UV visible spectrum of acetone, what do we gain over here? We get two types of bands, band 1 and band 2. Okay, band 1 and band 2, and here from our discussion we also come to know that there can be two types of transition. One is due to pi star transition band. Okay, so another band which will be due to the presence of N pi star transition. Now we have justified the presence of two bands. One band is due to pi star transition, another is due to N pi star transition. Now which of these bands belongs to which of the transition? The next question arises. Okay, how to do that? Band 1, we can see that it carries a high intensity peak. Okay, and band 2 here is represented for, it represents the lower intensity peak. You can see there's a vast difference between band 1 and band 2 we have labeled over here. The intensity is too much, the intensity is too high for band 1 and it is too low, very small intensity value for band 2. Okay. Now let us try to gather one important information regarding the non-bonded electrons or the lone pair of electrons. Actually, if we try to have a look at the picture of the acetone molecule over here, now this is the carbon and oxygen over here, and obviously these two bonds of carbon are satisfied with the alkyl groups. Okay. Now carbon oxygen double bond is present. Double bond means one of them is sigma and the other is pi. Okay. This yellow region is represented for the sigma bond, and the purple region above and below this sigma bond, they represents the pi bond. Okay, so my pi electrons are sitting in these areas, my pi electrons, my pi electron cloud is present in these areas. Now these two yellow colored lobes, they actually represents the non-bonded electrons or the lone pair of electrons. Okay. Now this one of the transition was pi star transition. So my electron sitting here in the pi orbital will jump to its next higher energy level, that is the pi star. That is not a problem. Okay, the problem may lie over here, wherein the n electron is not present in the same plane as the pi cloud over here. Okay, so the n electron has to go and jump to this side, pi star side. Okay, which actually is a difficult task for the lone pair of electron or the n electrons. Okay, so why? Because it is not symmetrically suitable. Now since it is not symmetrically suitable, that means the movement of n to pi star transition state becomes less probable as compared to pi star transition. Okay, so in other words, actually the n electrons, the lone pair of electrons, they lie out of the plane of the pi electrons. So due to this reason, what happens, the probability of the n electron to jump from its energy level to the higher energy level becomes less. So lesser the probability, that means lesser will be the transition, and lesser the transition, that means it will not be given up by the intensity band over here. In other words, the intensity will be low. This is why we mentioned in the earlier slide also that n pi star transition shows a less intense band. Why? Because the number of transitions which should occur, okay, due to the presence of n electrons or the non-bonded electrons, is actually lesser in amount. And why does that happen? Because of the symmetry of the molecule. Okay, so it is less feasible, it is less probable. Why? Because the possibility of an electron to jump to another electronic level which is out of its plane is a difficult task. So now we can say that band 1, which has a higher intensity, is actually due to the pi star transition, because it is a high intensity band. Okay, and band 2, which has a much lesser intensity, is actually due to the n pi star transition. Okay, now you know that band 1 is seen at the wavelength of 187 nanometers. Okay, and band 2 is seen at 270 nanometers. So you can say that the UV in the UV visible spectrum, the band at 187 nanometers, okay, is due to the pi star transition, and the band obtained at 270 nanometers is actually due to the n pi star transition. Okay, so that was the discussion of the UV visible spectrum of acetone. Likewise, we can have a UV visible spectrum for other molecules also. So everywhere in the first case, you just write down the structure. Okay, draw the structure on the side, and then have a look at as to what type of orbitals are present, what type of bonds are present in the structure. Okay, so you jot down the type of bonds which are present in that structure, and then on the basis of those bonds present and the type of electrons present, you can simply predict that, okay, if there is a pi bond, that means pi electrons are present, so pi star transition can be possible. Okay, if there are n electrons, obviously n pi star transition can also be possible. So likewise, you can interpret the UV visible spectrum of that molecule.